Let's open up a koan. Koans are little stories or parables that we can sit with, contemplate, work on with a teacher or with our sangha to try to help us to let go of this little self that we think we are. Let go of all of our ideas of what we think the world is. So, the Book of Equanimity, sometimes called the Book of Serenity. It's also called the Shoyo Roku. And this is case 5 of the Shoyo Roku. Very short. Uh, a monk asked Sagan, "What is the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma?" Sagan replied, "What does rice cost in Roryu?" Rorio. A monk asked Sagan, "What is the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma?" Sagan replied, "What does rice cost in Rorio?" What is the ultimate meaning? And it's funny, we just chanted that, right? May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning. And a lot of koans start out this way, where a monk asks the teacher, "What is the ultimate meaning? What's the meaning of Bodhidharma coming from the West? What is Buddha?" All these different ways of asking our deepest questions. What is the deepest, what is it? What is the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma? Can you like tap into that feeling, like wanting the ultimate meaning? What's the end game here? When do I get it? I know that feeling for sure. Once I have blah, once I get blank, once I see yada yada, then it'll all be clear and all will be well. Um, and of course, that might be kind of flawed because, as we see very clearly, and as the Buddha was very clear about, the nature of our universe is impermanence, constantly changing. So anytime we think we found an answer or happened upon the right thing or got the right job or the right partner or the right friend or the right mantra, as long as we're holding on to that, seeing it as the ultimate thing, we're going to be sorely disappointed. Um, so really, it's this question that's important. What is this meaning of enlightenment? And I don't know, it's just kind of coming up for me right now in contrast to all the other questions I have. Um, how will I be happy? What's the right thing to do? How can I be my best self? All these other questions that want to insert themselves when I'm making decisions. And so I'm just really aware of the power of carrying this question. What is the ultimate meaning of an enlightened life, right? The Buddha Dharma is the teachings of the Buddha, the awakening of the Buddha. And I find that one of the gifts of practice for me is that as I'm going about my day, making decisions on what clothes to wear, what person to call, what choice to make, all the various choices and avenues that we have going on during our ordinary life, I just noticed such a difference, um, kind of related to what Davey was sharing earlier. When I lead with this question, where's the Buddha Dharma in this? What should I do on Friday night? How should I spend my weekend? Well, how does the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma play out in my weekend? And sometimes the answer is very different than if I lead with the question, how will I be happiest this weekend? How will I get what I want this weekend? Um, which choice is going to show me in the best light, right? There's all these other questions that really want to insert themselves. But to really make a commitment to this question of like, what is enlightenment? What is the enlightened thing to do? Some people equate enlightenment with living a life of service to others. So as I'm planning what to wear or who to talk to or what to buy, what if I lead with that question? How will this serve others? So it's just to say that all these koans that start with this question, what is the ultimate meaning of Buddha? What's the meaning of the Bodhidharma coming from the West? What is the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma? What is the Tao? Um, just check in and see how your life goes when you prioritize that question. And so we start to see this not necessarily as repetitive, like, oh God, another koan with this question, but to really see it as fresh every time, right? That's one of the gifts of Zazen, I think, is that we get to see our ordinary life, brushing our teeth, making the coffee, getting the kids to school, all these things that we want to think are repetitive and boring, we can start to see them in a brand new light every single day. What would that be like? What is the ultimate meaning of making my coffee this morning as if it was the first time I ever made coffee? To see this moment as completely fresh. In our service that we did this morning, I was particularly struck, talking about doing something over and over again. During the dedication at the end, our chant leader says, um, make all resolve, and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. I usually just let that word just kind of like go in one ear and out the other. But this morning it really struck me. Eternal spring. Everything fresh. Everything's just a baby all the time. Every time I sit down on the cushion, it's the same thing. Bow to the cushion, turn to the right, bow away, sit down, follow the breath. But what if every single part of that felt completely new? Like I've never done it before. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. That's true not knowing. That's manifesting not knowing. So yeah, can we hear this question? What is enlightenment? What is the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma? Can we hear that for the first time? And the teacher here, Sagan, responds, what is the cost of rice in Rorio? So we love answering a question with a question, right? And yeah, I guess the important thing to see here, because very often when we answer a question with a question, what's going on is that the answer is the same, right? So, hey, do you want some pizza right now? Does a bear shit in the woods? Uh, the answer is the same, yes. So that's one way we can use questions to answer questions. But here, and you can see this that way, we can definitely spin it. Well, the cost of rice in Roryu must be, um, very cheap because there's rice everywhere in Roryu. And so that means that the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma is that it's everywhere. It's the same answer for both things. Or maybe you could say, um, Rorio's far away. We don't know what the price of Rorio is. And it's the same answer for the first question. We don't know what Buddha Dharma is. But then you start really like applying concepts there, kind of figuring it out, teasing out like what the tricky thing is here. And that's not really how these koans work. So instead of saying that they have the same answer, I think it might be more useful to see it more as they are the same question. What is the ultimate meaning of becoming Buddha? How much are you paying for rice? The same question. What am I going to do this weekend? How do I handle my friend who's being mean to me? How do I navigate family drama? It's the same exact question. How do I live my life? How am I treating others? How am I using my resources? How much rice do I eat? Do I eat too much rice? So just these questions of our life and how we approach them is asking the ultimate meaning of the universe. There's nothing outside of it. To be put simply, the minute we put any kind of separation between our ordinary worldly existence and some spiritual question, we kind of miss the point. We miss what the Buddha taught. Because just this, how are you spending money on food? How much food do I waste? Where is my rice coming from? Um, Asking those questions, paying attention to our daily life is the deepest meaning you could possibly find. And as soon as you start searching for some kind of other transcendent, otherworldly, out of, this spot, anything other than this moment, you're just kind of lost in thought, concepts, delusion, essentially. So I chose this koan because it's kind of relevant to something important going on here for us at Sweetwater Zen Center. Um, Show of hands if you've been aware of a lot of programming we've been giving uh, through a grant from the Lens Foundation. Have people seen that? All the emails that are like, come see this talk by the Lens Foundation, come do this workshop thanks to the Lens Foundation. Um, so yeah, this year we received a really nice grant from the Frederick P. Lens Foundation, which is a foundation dedicated to funding novel ways of progressing American Buddhism. And we've been able to do some great stuff. We've had some awesome guest speakers. We've had, workshops on microaggressions. We're going to be putting together a book of Seisen's talks. We're going to have a healthy boundaries, all this great work, all this great stuff that we can do. And it recently came up in our committees, our leadership, our membership. Well, what is this Lens Foundation? Where are we getting this money from? Because I can tell you, as someone who is on the grant writing team, I never asked that question. I saw that they were doling out a ton of cash for the purpose of centering female and non-binary voices in Buddhism, and I was like, no, let's get that money. I never asked, how much does rice cost in Rorio? What is this costing? Where is this coming from? Who is Lens? What is this Lens Foundation? And so we're so grateful that this is now coming up, because if you go on their website, frederiklensfoundation.com or something like that, they're doing great work. They fund a lot of cool stuff, and they offer Lenz, Dr. Frederick Lenz was also known as Rama. He was a Buddhist teacher, and they're offering his talks for free, and they're funding all kinds of cool initiatives, and use awesome language around, female empowerment and uh, DEI programs and schools and connections and network, doing all kinds of good stuff. And then if you go to Wikipedia, looking up Frederick P. Lenz, uh, you see kind of a different story. And you see that he was this kind of cult figure and lived in mansions and had a private jet and taught this kind of like Buddhism can make you rich in a way. Not necessarily, but he shunned the idea of simplicity and begging bowl Buddhism. Um, and part of this whole thing involved scandal and a lot of allegations of sexual misconduct. And, this story that we see over and over again, taking advantage of people's interest in the Dharma and taking their money, and telling the men in his sangha, like, you shouldn't have sex is bad, don't look at the women in the sangha, but then like inviting the women to have sex with him because having sex with me will help give you my enlightened energy. All this gross stuff that we see time and time again in troubled spiritual leaders. So now, all of a sudden, we're accepting this money from this foundation started by this guy um, who has a troublesome record. And this question, what is the cost? What is the cost of what we're doing here? Are we pardoning his misconduct by taking his money? On the one hand, that's some evil shit. And in a way, we're supporting this foundation started by some pretty evil stuff. Not evil, we can let that word go, but harmful stuff. On the other hand, um, giving money to programs all over the country to try to empower women, to center women and non-binary Buddhist practitioners, maybe that's a great way to heal the harmful karma that he started. On the other hand, why doesn't their website say anything about this? Are we supporting this like hiding? Because he always denied these allegations. He never apologized. He never acknowledged. He never worked on that stuff. He just kind of denied. So are we funding kind of like an anti-Me Too foundation here? On the other hand, they may have a statement somewhere. So we're still doing research around it and really trying to figure out, what is the cost of this? How are we manifesting? It's so important, that we go deeper than what I was like, which was like, money to center females, great. We love that. What a great concept. And just stop there. Ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma, great concept, yeah. Ooh, what's the Buddha Dharma? That sounds great. Well, take a look at your life. How much you spending on rice? Who are you supporting? Where is your money coming from? That gets into the Eightfold Path, right livelihood, right speech, right view, right intention. Um, so, we have their money. We can't give it back, I don't think. We already have it kind of accounted for. And we're doing great stuff. And we've had some great speakers, and we've had a lot of wonderful community building around this. Um, and we can look at whether we apply for another one. So most important here, asking these questions, is to do it as a Sangha. So that's just to say that we have a community council scheduled for next Saturday, August 24th. And we really hope that we can explore this topic. How do we feel about this grant? How do we react to the history behind it? Maybe this is really the best thing to do. Someone who created so much harm for women um, and Buddhism, really. Uh, Maybe by doling out almost $1 million across the country so people can center female voices and empower female and non-binary leaders. Maybe that's the best thing to do. Maybe it's great. That's kind of, mostly where I land. And in fact, I had the chance yesterday to actually talk one-on-one or face-to-face with Lama Tsultrim. I don't know if anyone knows who she is. She's a early Vajrayana, Tibetan, Tantric, American Buddhist pioneer. She's pretty famous, published. It's kind of a deal. And I got the chance to talk with her yesterday, and I actually asked her about this. And her response was, was that it's healing, that it's good, that they're um, providing these funds to do things like heal that harmful karma that he caused. So that's where she lands. I'm still exploring where I land. Some people say if the money comes through bad means, I don't care what the intention is, we can't touch it. So we don't know. We don't know. And that's why it's so important to be asking these questions. That's why that is the question of what is enlightenment? Well, how are we manifesting? How are you buying rice? Kind of get short on time. I did want to look at the verse, right? So most of these koans come with a verse as well, like a commentary verse. I won't go too deep into it, but this verse says, "Peaceful governing has no special form. Rustic styles are utterly plain. They just drink together and sing folk songs. Why should they care about Shun's merits or Gyo's benevolence?" So peaceful governing, that's kind of the same question. What is peaceful governing? What is the ultimate meaning of the Buddha Dharma, right? Governing could be governing a Zen center, governing a city or a country, governing ourselves, governing a relationship. So peaceful governing, peacefully manifesting our lives and communities, has no special form. There's no one way to do it. If you do this, then that. If you do Zazen, then you will see the Buddha Dharma. I don't think it works like that. If you buy this rice, act now, and you'll get 2 for 1, and you'll have the best rice. It doesn't work like that. Maybe Rorio's rice is good today, bad tomorrow. It's always pursuing this question. What is it? How am I manifesting? That's how we stay peaceful in our governance, not getting attached to any special form. Rustic styles are utterly plain. They just drink together and sing folk songs. So I just have this image of a little village in a mountain somewhere, And things are simple. Things are plain. I've lived in a tiny town before. Things are a little bit plainer. Sure, there's dynamics and stuff, but everyone's pretty much white, of the same ideology, doing the same job, which is basically farming. And so they just get to like farm and drink and sing songs. I might say in response to that, rustic styles are utterly plain. They just drink together and sing folk songs. I might say cosmopolitan styles get rather complicated. And we care about healing karma from our past, complicated karma from our past. Melting pot styles get super complicated. But then this last one, why should they care about Shun's merits or Gyo's benevolence? I looked really hard for who Shun and Gyo are. I have no idea. It doesn't really matter, but I think we can imagine that they are maybe past emperors of China or legislators or warriors, or maybe they're like folkloric heroes or something. But the point is the same. Why should we care about this thing that we, regard as like the right way? Oh, that leader did it this way, and he was so benevolent, and this person did it that way, and that's the right way. No, the point is to examine your life. Drink and sing songs with the people who are in front of you. And the more we attach to this idea of what it should be, what it must look like, right? That's what I got caught up in when I was like, money for feminism? That sounds great. Let's do it. No, ask. Well, where is that coming from? What is that? How much does it cost? Whose cost is it? Really examining and being present for this moment and what's alive. Not getting stuck in trying to be like Shun or Gyo. So I really hope that this council next weekend helps us to do that. Um, you might have strong feelings about it, you might not, but I invite everyone to come and bring their thoughts around this. And, I hope that this conversation that we have and opening this up hopefully helps to ripple out and heal some of the harmful karma that came from Rama's teaching. And, Rama did a lot of great stuff too for Buddhism. He really was an early pioneer and offered the Dharma of all different styles. He was like, one of those guys who was a master of Zen and Taoism and Vajrayana and Tibetan and martial arts and snowboarding and writing, and he had a PhD in something, and he created software, and one of those crazy, crazy people. And he did a lot, and his in his will, he said, I want my whole estate to go to this foundation to fund other Buddhist centers in perpetuity. So what a wonderful gift. And what a complicated story. So yeah, hope to see everybody on Saturday. I think it's a really sexy topic, which is what we try to do with our councils, and really curious to hear everyone's thoughts. So thank you all so much for diving into this complicated bag of rice with me.